Jay Grant, thanks, brother. It was a pleasure having you on the staff, and it's been even better being friends. Look at us now. You got me out of retirement to talk some QBs, so I couldn't be happier to do that. And first of all, I hope that everyone's safe that's tuning in and dealing with this whole COVID-19. But let's dive in. So as everyone was saying, I coached college ball. I played college ball for a while as a quarterback, and I was lucky enough to come across a lot of good coaches and learn some good stuff from them. And so what I thought was relevant for today was to talk about the mechanics of a quarterback throwing, stationary throwing on a move, because, if a lot of you guys are coaching high school ball, you guys know better than I do, and I have a ton of respect that you don't always have a guy that can throw it every single year. When you do, life is great, but a lot of times you're dealt with kids that have all the intangibles, but they're lacking on some of the physical skills. So what we're going to kind of go through today is what I do, what I've learned to make a system on how to throw the ball consistently. Because in the end, all that matters is that they get the ball, to the right person on time and accurately. And we can work on the on time and accurately to the right person. That's up to you guys and how you're reading key defenses. But this is what I want to go through. Fire out questions when you have them. Jay Graham will take care of that. I promise you, though, I know from coaching, I've been to a ton of clinics. I'm going to give you guys all the golden nuggets, all the pro tips, all the information needed to implement this stuff. And hopefully the video works. I have backups if it doesn't. But this is what we do. So when we're talking about throwing the ball, it's one of two things. It's either from the pocket, and we call that stationary. That's after we take our 3-step drop, whether it's in the gun, 5, 7-step drops. And then we have thrown on the move. And both are very similar, but there's a lot of intricacies that we do with those things to make it effective and make it consistent. So the first thing we want to dive into is the stance phase, right? This is phase one. And the biggest thing we talk about, we're going to get teed up from the feet up. We're going to start with the bottom, and that's your stance arrow. So if we're talking about a right-handed quarterback, then his foot down here, perpendicular to his foot, is his stance arrow. And that's always going to point at our target, whether it's down the middle, front side, or back side. We want our feet shoulder width apart. We want 85% of our weight on our back foot. So our right foot, that whole foot, every cleat is in the ground. There's slight flexion. Our left foot, the toe is in the arch of the right foot. 15% of the weight is on that foot. And then our torso is straight up. And our elbows are down, close to the body, in a relaxed position, and the ball should be somewhere around our right shoulder, and the tip of that ball, the nose of the ball, should be below our jawline and above our nipples, somewhere in there. So I'm going to jump back and forth between screens here. If I could figure out, here we go. I'm going to share my other screen. So when we talk about the stance arrow, I'm going to draw a right foot. Again, a right-handed quarterback here. Hold on one second. So if I'm a right-handed quarterback, this is his right foot. This is his left foot. We want this arrow of the right foot pointed at our target. And that's how we get lined up. So if we have our stance arrow at our target, then we also have our left hip and our left shoulder at our target. The reason we do that is because we want to complete 180 degrees, a half circle, to complete a full motion towards our target. Anything more than that or anything less than that is just not optimal. So the way we do this, if I'm taking a kid, I used to take coffee straws, but that's not really relevant today. So we just put them on the ground, and I just take tape from the equipment room and just tape it around his foot and take a Sharpie pen and draw an arrow. So that way, when we talk about getting into your stance, he can look down and see that his arrow is pointed at his target, right? Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Let me jump back here. Okay, so that's the stance. Let me give you guys a little bit of a visual. So this is the stance. I just went on the internet and just started taking a look at guys and guys that we're all familiar with. And let's just go back over it, right? Our feet are somewhat shoulder width apart. 85% of our weight is on our back foot. 15 is on the front. We want toe down, heel up in the arch. Now, granted, guys, remember, not everybody's going to look the same. but they're going to look similar, right? And that's the key. Elbows down, relaxed, and the ball is just up in front of our right shoulder, somewhere in front of there. The tip of the ball is going to be below our jawline and above our nipple, somewhere there. Joe Burrow's nice and relaxed, nice flexion. The torso's up, elbows relaxed, toe down, heel up in the front, 85% of the weight in the back foot, 15 on the front. And the golden child of passing mechanics, Joe Montana. Everybody sees the flexion in the back. So you see the idea of your stance and how we want them to look. So now the next question is, how do you get your players to get comfortable doing the stance? And so there's a drill. We call it liners. This is a drill that we do every single day of the year. It's the first drill I'll even do with guys. And let me show you what it looks like. The first thing, as you can see, we're teaching passing. We're going to teach liners. Then we'll get into lead step, follow through, and butt drill. That all falls in line with how we're going to pass. The first drill is called liners, and we're teaching the stance. So again, our buzzwords, we're teaching the stance. We have shoulders width apart. Our left toe is lined up in the arch of our right foot, and we got toe down, heel up, and the left toe is pointed at 5 o'clock. The reason we do that is that just closes our stance slightly, right? So our stance arrow is pointed at our target. We close our hips and our shoulders slightly to ensure that when we step and throw, we're going to attain 180 degrees, that half circle. That's the optimal point. So here's a guy, if we were on the football field, we just straddle a major stripe. So every 5 yards, if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks, just have them straddle a line and get into your stance, right? 85, 15, flexion, relaxed elbows, toe down, heel up. When we say go, he's just going to crisscross his feet. And the reason we're doing that is we just want him not to think about what he's doing, right? And then I'm going to give a second cadence for him to flip around and to get in his stance, right? So let me see if I can play that again. So all I want to do is get him moving, not thinking, and then without him knowing, I'm going to say hit, and he's going to flip around, and he's going to be in his stance. And I'm going to have him check. I'm going to have him look down. Is his stance arrow lined up with that major stripe? Is his toe down, heel up in the arch? Does he have flexion in his legs? Is his torso up? Then we're going to check his balance. I'm going to ask him to lift the leg up. What we want to see here is no movement in his body. Even though he's in his stance with 85% of his weight on his back foot, I want him fully balanced. So the way I check that, or that we check that, is to lift the leg up. If I see his body rocking side to side, I know he's not fully balanced. Maybe he has to bend a little bit more in his lower body. So we have him pick it up, put it down. We have him bounce it. We bounce it out, again, just to shake everything loose and to have him get back in the stance, right? We check it again. Now we check his balance by tapping it. Now we bounce it again. We check his balance by lifting it up again. And we do that. Let's play it again. So I'll do liners with all my guys. I'll have them do it twice. Twice meaning that I'll have him flip around to the left and to the right, right? So he's going to flip and face us, and then I'll have him flip around and do the other way. So all this is doing is teaching the stance. We want to get him comfortable in the stance. Checking for balance in a couple different ways. Have him bounce it out, get back into the stance, tap it out, then he'll relax, and we'll flip it around the other way. That's how we teach the stance. The second thing in throwing stationary is the initiation of motion. And this happens when we start to step with our left foot. So we want to make sure that a couple things. Our stance arrow is pointed at our target, right? And that's so we can attain 180 degrees. When we step with our left foot, we want to make sure that it goes a minimum of a foot forward and about 4 to 6 inches to the left of our target. So we're never stepping on our stance arrow line. Kind of like, putting in golf, we never step on the line, right? The reason we do that is because when we follow through, when we finish our passing motion, we want our right hip and our right shoulder to be right down the middle of our target. If you watch your guys, if they have their lead step point down the middle of their target, their left foot, if they step and it's right down the middle of their target, their right shoulder and right hip will be to the right of their target. So they won't obtain that 180 degrees. So we want to make sure that we step off that line about 4 to 6 inches to the left of the target so we can bring our hip and our right shoulder all the way around, and that lands right down the middle of our target. And the key is we want to step forward, right? When we initiate our motion, two things are happening. The left foot is moving forward, and at the same exact time, we are separating our hands. We're drawing that ball back behind us. And the longer the step that we have, the further the ball travels away from us. And when you talk about creating power and creating force behind a throw, we need distance. The longer our body, which is our hand on the ball, the longer it stays on there, the more power, the more force we can generate. So if we're not stepping forward, then we're not being able to put a whole lot of force on a pass. Now, as we all know, depending on the type of throw that we're going to make, whether it's just a little check down or it's a little flare route versus a dig or something, or a basic cross over the middle of the field, we don't need much of a lead step. But we want to be ready to do that. And so just a few more examples. So this is a diagram of a correct closed stance. This is the right foot. This is the ball. This is the left foot pointing at 5 o'clock. Here's the right foot pointing at the target, or 12 o'clock, and the ball's going to travel at 180 degrees. Sometimes we see an incorrect and open stance. The left foot's very open, or our stance arrow is not pointed at our target. And then a hyper closed stance where it's as you get the idea. So a correct lead step, the left foot, as you can see, is off that line. Incorrect lead step, right on the line and over the line. We want to get it off. So again, some more visuals. I want you guys to see that Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Joe Burrow, and again, I just went on the internet and found these pictures. Look at the lead step. It's not compact at all. You know, it's a nice, long lead step. They're going to be able to draw that ball back, as you've seen Russell Wilson do it. And here's some key tips, too. Don't be afraid. If the ball drops a little bit as they're drawing it back, that's okay, as long as it doesn't go below the belt. Going below the belt gets a little bit long. That kind of Byron left switch gets real long. But as long as it doesn't go below the belt, it's okay, because they're drawing it back. It's that initiation of motion. So there's some visuals there, and you can see that lead step is very important for us to bring our whole body into the throw and for our accuracy. And that's the big thing, right? If we can get our guys accurate, you know, if you have a quarterback that's accurate already, then you don't need to work any mechanics with them. Just work on your timing and your drops and the routes on air and against defenders. You know, don't worry about it. Bernie Kosar looked funky. You know, Philip Rivers, I played against him, looked funky. But these guys are putting the ball on the money. You know, why change it? But it's when you don't have the guys and you really have to teach how to throw, this is what we're talking about. And again, just, you know, talking about the lead step, we want to make sure that we're traveling forward, that we're not just opening. So you can see the dotted line in between this little stick figure. If you just open and not travel forward, you have a shorter distance that you're traveling. If you can see it here, when you start, and here, when you're traveling forward, it travels a longer distance. So the way we teach lead step, I don't have a video for it because it's just that simple. So I'll just go back to the draw board. If you guys, all you have to do, let me just erase this. Just get on next to the sideline. And you know you have the hash marks and the major stripes. Put his right foot, put the right foot right on here, his left foot's here, and have him step and throw, and just have him land somewhere on this hash, depending on how tall he is or how short, you know, or somewhere near here, whether you want his whole foot on the next hash mark or just his toes or right in front. Some guys are so long, they have to step over the hash mark. And that way they can see where they're starting and where they're finishing. And we want them to finish forward. So the lead step drill is extremely easy. And there's no need for video for that. So let's get into, just keep moving forward here. So the next phase is the acceleration phase. And this is when the arm starts to move forward. So we were in our stance, we took our lead step, we drew the ball back, and now the arm is starting to move forward. And a few things I want to point out. Again, Eli Manning he just had the best pictures online to find this stuff. So the ball's back, it's starting to come forward. What you're going to start to notice as the arm is coming forward, the arm is leading it, we start to see lateral bending in the spine, right? We just naturally start to bend. Everybody does this whenever they throw just about anything. And what I want you to point out is the lateral bending in the spine and also 90 degrees in the armpit. That's what we want to see, right? When you talk about changing someone's stroke, why would you change someone's stroke? Because you're looking at them, they look funky. It takes a long time to change someone's stroke, and you have to do it for the right reasons. And I think some people get caught up in the wrong points and they're not looking at the right things. So what I always look for, as long as they have 90 degrees in the armpit, they're fine. If they start to dip below 90 degrees, it's a little troublesome. And if they're above, it's a little troublesome. You start to see more people above. But the acceleration phase is a key point. And now release control. This is when the ball starts to come out. This is probably the best picture, Brady and Manning. They're all pretty close. You can definitely see the lateral bending of the spine. You can see 90 degrees in the armpit. Okay, they're all there. As the ball is leaving their hand, this is what I want to point out. Their arm is just about straight. There's no 90 degrees in the elbow. It's almost a straight line. If we were to stand up Eli Manning right now, he'd be throwing sidearm. Does that make sense? But because he's laterally bending in the spine, he's appearing to throw over the top or 3/4. And this is ideal. This is what we want. The ball is furthest away from the axis. The axis is the left foot. When we're releasing the ball, our back foot starts to come off the ground. There's lateral bending in the spine. This is where we begin to pronate our arm to create more spin and more velocity on the ball. And we're shifting our weight because our back leg is coming off the ground. We're shifting all of our weight to our left leg. So now we have to have the whole left leg in the ground, every cleat in the ground to support our weight and to support our balance. And we want to release the ball. So going back to just, looking at someone's stroke, sidearm is ideal because it's the furthest distance away from our axis, so we can generate the most power. The difference is that we're laterally bending in the spine, so it creates that over-the-top mechanic. The next thing is we have 2 follow-through phases, and we talk about the follow-through a lot because by the time we release the ball, we're releasing the ball. Look where the ball's at. It's right above our head. By the time we release it, there's still about 70% of our motion left that we have to complete, and that affects our accuracy. So we want to make sure that we're looking at the follow-through in 2 phases. And the first phase is follow-through A. What you're going to see is the right leg completely off the ground. The left leg has 100% of our weight. We're following through with our arm down to the axis, so it's what we call the far knee or the left knee. So everybody here looks similar. This is Joe Montana, by the way, back here. And then we have follow through B. This was forgive my pictures. I could not find anything online that had a picture of a professional quarterback holding their follow through. So I had to pull one of my old QBs, and this is Jason Verduzco. He played for Illinois after Jeff George, I guess in the 90s. He was a good player. So what you want to see in the follow through, when we finish our throw, it's a far knee release, so the arm is over the left thigh, the left thigh. Now we have 85% of our weight on our left leg, 15% of our weight on our right leg, toe down, heel up, and it's in the arch. So it's the opposite of our stance. And now our right hip and right shoulder is completely at our target, completely at our target. So let me show you how we do the follow through drill, because we want to teach this feeling of the follow through. All we do, we have our quarterback face us, and he's going to have his right toe is going to be lined up in the arch of his left foot. So we'll zoom in on that. And all we're going to have him do is rotate his shoulders and pass us the ball, and then hold the follow through, right? Hold the follow through, get that feeling. Get the feeling of flexion in the left knee, but 85% of the weight is here, 15 is here, toe down, heel up, a far knee release. And we also want him to be balanced. So the way we'll check the balance, and I don't think it's in this video, we'll have him lift the right leg or tap the right leg. Make sure that he's not swaying side to side, right? A lot of young guys, they have weight distributed equally between both feet on the stance and the follow through, but we don't want that. The other thing to notice in this video, when you're doing follow through, let's see if I can stop it. We want this kind of rhythm of cha-ching. We want his left shoulder to rotate and hit right down the middle of the target. Cha-ching, and then throw it. So we just want him to get there and then hold it. So that way he gets his 180 degrees. So we make sure that we're practicing the right type of rotation there. So we have our stance and we have our follow through. So the way I look at guys is this, we rarely want to change anybody's stroke just because it takes so long to do that, so much muscle memory and so much work and so much videotape. But what we can do is, if we can get our quarterbacks to learn a proper stance and a proper follow through, where every drop that they take, whether it's 3-step, 3 big, 3 quick, 5 big, 5 quick, 5 in a hitch, 7 in a hitch, play pass, front side, back side, hitches, all that stuff. If they can always end up in a stance and end up in a follow through that looks good, that's comfortable, then 90% of the time they're solid and they're good. Once in a while, we're going to come up with quarterbacks where we have to change their stroke. But most of the time when I'm working with guys, it's to get them comfortable in their stance and in their follow through, using all the drops that are in their offense and front side and back side. So there's a lot of information there. Let's see here. This is just a look at the feet. There's the right foot is in the back. So this is stance. Stance arrow is pointing at 12, left foot, toe down, heel up. Then we take our lead step, and here's the follow through, just the opposite. So again, the way we would install this when I was working with guys is every day we do our liners, we do our warm-ups, do that kind of deal. But when the first time they grab the ball after a little bit of a warm-up for their whole body and they're throwing, they're going to do stance and follow through. That is, they just go in front of another guy 10, 15 yards apart in a nice, cool rhythm. You're going to work on perfect stance and perfect follow through and an accurate pass 10 yards away. We'll do that for 5-10 minutes. Just get them going before practice to just really just groove in like the grooves on a record player on a record until it's just, second nature. And then whenever I'm working out a guy one-on-one or we're just doing some drills, you always want to do cool down throws. Do 15, 20 cool down throws of stance and follow through just to groove it, right? When they're a little bit tired, their body's a little bit beat up, make sure they have a really good stance and a really good follow through. So we went over liners, that teaches the stance. We went over lead step, which is the initiation of motion. There's no film, but it's a simple drill. I showed you guys a follow through drill and how important that is because it's 70% of your passing mechanics. I want to show you guys the butt drill. This drill itself, it encompasses a lot, and we do this for many different reasons. Number one, it does teach the acceleration phase, right? That arm coming through. When the arm's coming through and release and control, we're talking about pronation. And pronation is not just flicking your wrist. It's not just flicking your forearm. It's your entire arm pronating, turning in. And it's not a natural movement, so we have to teach that. The other thing the butt drill does, because of the way we do it, it strengthens and lengthens the shoulder. So that creates more distance. The last thing it does, and we do this in the off season, it's a way for us as coaches to gauge their arm strength. Let me show you the drill first, and I'll talk about how it works. Some of the buzzwords are quicker up and quicker through. The faster you bring the ball up, the faster it comes down. Stay on the arc. We want to keep the elbow high, close to the eyebrow, and we want thumb down, palm out. So here's the butt drill, and this is one of the best drills I've ever been around. So we're literally going to be on the butt. The reason we're on our butt is we're going to eliminate any wheel and axle in our passing mechanic. The wheel axles that we have are our hips and our shoulders. The third wheel axis that we have is our arm, and that's the pronation, and that's what we're working on. So we want to eliminate the body and just focus on the arm. So we sit down, butt on the ground, we spread our feet out. You can put them on a major stripe, and we are going to take the ball like we're going to throw it. We're going to put the tip of the ball on the ground, and then we're going to bring the ball up. We want to keep above 90 degrees here, right? We don't want 90 degrees in the armpit now. We want it above, because that's what's going to strengthen and lengthen our shoulder. We want to keep this elbow as close to the eyebrow as possible. And then we're going to bring the ball through, and we're going to follow through far knee for passing stationary, and then we can also do near knee. And we're looking for this whole arm pronated. So we're looking for the palm out. Show you from a couple different examples. Couple different viewpoints, and you see the ball. We want the ball on a line getting to our target. Here's a near knee release for passing on the move, which we'll talk about after this. Here's another guy. This guy played for Yale, great player. Notice that the arm is coming up, staying close to the eyebrows, and it's all arm. We're lengthening that shoulder. We're strengthening that shoulder, and we're focusing on the only way to get any kind of force on this ball is we have to pronate. And so here's the other thing, the really great thing about this drill. So the way we set it up, we'll do 25 passes with far knee release, 25 passes with near knee release. When I take guys for the first time, no matter if they're 12 years old or coming out of college or going into the pros, if they do the technique correctly, the first couple passes, because they're so tight in the shoulder and they've never done this before, they're lucky to get that ball 10 yards down the field. Over time, with practice, in college, I wanted my guys to start at 20, end at 25. So 20, 25 yards. The ball has to be on a rope and hit your target accurately. And accurately means that whoever's catching the ball can catch it as long as he doesn't have to move his feet. If he has to move his feet, then they're chasing balls and it's messing up our drill. So this was a way for me to record how my quarterback's arm strength was. So I knew that if I can get him to 20, 25 yards, then he can make every pass in our offense. I'm not concerned about throwing 18-yard comebacks. I'm not concerned about throwing, 7-step play pass posts down the middle. He can make them all. If he's only getting them out 12, 15 yards, then I, as a coach, have to do something differently. I got to either reduce the splits of the receivers. I got to shorten up his drop as a quarterback and get the ball out quicker, or just not run some of those routes, right? So I'm not going to put my quarterback in a bad position because he doesn't have the arm strength. And then if he doesn't have the arm strength, this is a drill you can do every night. Do it at home. Do it with your dad. Do it with your brother. Do it with your sister. And over time, over 2 or 3 weeks, you can get that ball 20, 25 yards. I promise you. And then once you're done with butt drills, stand up and do a little stance and follow through. So, Jager, I want to open up.
Can you got a question here? Yeah. With the butt drill, are you also teaching the body lean as well to create the perfect throwing angle?
No, we just want the torso up. It's really a focus on the arm and the pronating and the follow through. The body lean, just torso up is fine. What you're going to see, because their legs are spread out, if they do a few reps, their hip flexors are going to get really, really sore. And you're going to see them kind of squirming around in between reps. And you'll know it's the hip flexor. And then you're going to see their arm just super tight. You're going to have to constantly coach them to keep their elbow close to their eyebrow and to bring that ball back fast. Let the momentum stretch their shoulder out and let that momentum happen. Quicker up, quicker through. And over a few reps, they start to get it. Over a few, coaching sessions, they start to get it. And there's a drastic improvement. And then as soon as they're done doing 25 reps to the far knee, 25 reps to the near knee, stand them up and do stance and follow through and watch them, the ball will just fly out of their hands. They'll start pronating. Now they have their shoulders and their hips, and they'll be like, oh my God, I've never felt this kind of velocity, this kind of force throwing the football.
Is there any correlation between the butt drill throw distance and a regular throw distance? If he can throw 15 to 20 in the butt drill, what do you think he can throw regularly?
You can throw, you can just make just about anything you can. I would say if he can do 15 to 20 on a butt drill, then he can absolutely throw the ball 55, 60 yards, no problem. If he's not getting there, then we got to look at the deep ball and how he's throwing the deep ball and look at mechanically how what's happening. And there's a few things we can talk about for the deep ball.
Couple more questions that with a left-handed quarterback, besides switching legs with the percentages and degree angles, what else do you adjust?
Nothing. It's completely the same.
One more question here. If the throwing motion is correct, do you have a trigger word to remind them of what you're looking for?
Yes. So if the motion's correct, we're still going to work on our feet, right? Our feet are so important. They still need to learn stance arrow. They still need to learn a proper lead step and a proper follow through. But we're just not going to coach anything else, because when you have really good feet, and that's what Joe Montana and Bill Walsh, those guys were so good at choreographing all the different movements quarterbacks make, from drop back mechanics, and when you hitch, double hitch, triple hitch, when you move in the pocket, get flushed out of the pocket, all those are choreographed dances, but they all fit into this. So it's just a matter of focusing on the feet. And then, obviously, depending on your offense, what types of drops you guys use, whether you're always in the gun and you're just doing some, turning your hips to get for quick game, or just doing a 3-step drop with a hitch to the equivalent of a 5-step. If you're sprinting out, nakeding, waggling, boots, all that stuff. It's just focusing more on that, because if he's got a good stroke, don't mess with it, man. You don't want to mess with it. It's too hard to mess with a stroke. You can do it, and I can tell you how to do it, but it's intense. It's a lot of time. Any other questions, Jay Graham?
We're good.
All right, let's get into the what I think is the biggest gem that I can teach you guys, and that's throwing on the move. Right? Throwing on the move is, people tell me, and I don't know if the statistics have changed, but, if you drop back 10 times, 6 out of the 10 times, you're going to be, moved in the pocket, whether you're flushed out completely or you just have to adjust your, what you're doing. So when we talk about throwing on the move, we talk about throwing on the move direct. On the move direct means that you're sprinting out, you're nakeding out, you're booting out, you're waggling out, and you're able to get depth and come downhill, and your target's directly in front of you. Then we'll talk about on the move, inside right, inside left. All that means is you get flushed out to the right and your target's now on your inside, or you get flushed out to the left and your target's now on your inside. And there's ways to do that. So when we throw in the move, it's the opposite with our legs than when we're throwing station. When we're throwing station and when we release the ball, we're releasing it actually from our left foot. That's why we follow through to our left knee when we're passing from the pocket. When we're passing on the move, we're throwing from our right foot. So we have to now follow through to our right leg. So this stance phase, the initiation of these two pictures of Montana and Dak Prescott. Dak is a great passer on the move right now. Joe is great too. The stance phase is running at your target. The initiation of motion is when we're about to throw. And that means when our right foot hits, our left shoulder is pointed at our target. So you can see that here, right? So when we're throwing on the move, I've never taught my guys to cock their shoulders, right? Because that shows the defense it's coming. It also slows you down when you're running. And I played quarterback at Duke in the early 2000s when Duke was bad. Mario Williams was playing for NC State. There's some Julius Peppers was at Carolina. There's no way I'm slowing down to make a throw. I am in a dead sprint. And this drill, and throwing on the move this way, I'm going to show you guys how to throw in a dead sprint and be accurate. So the initiation of motion is when our right foot hits, our left shoulder points at our target, and that initiates our motion. So on the move direct, what happens is, if you pull in Newton's law, it's a equal and opposite reaction. Our right foot hits, our arm is coming through. You will see a little bit more in the 90 degrees, and that's fine. Arms come a little bit higher. Some guys still keep it low, but the left leg is going to kick forward. That's the equal and opposite reaction. It'll kick up, and you will literally be in the air like a scissor kick. Here's what I'm going to tell you guys, and these pictures prove it. Everybody who throws a football on the move somewhat does this naturally. Their body wants to do that, to do this movement. Whether they've been coached on it or not, I don't know. But just from finding all these pictures, their body wants to do it. So the target is directly in front of them. Their right foot hits, they initiate their motion, and their left leg kicks up. And they're going to follow through to the near knee. That's what's going to make you deadly accurate as a passer on the move. Don't follow through to the far knee. You'll see a lot of guys, when you talk about it at first, they'll follow through to the middle of their crotch and pull their right arm over. So you just want to follow, you just want to watch that. So on the move inside left, all this means is you're running to your left. You get flush out of the pocket. You're running to your left, and your target is inside of you. So what I have to do is get my right foot, when I plant it in the ground, at my target, and what happens? What's the equal and opposite reaction? My left leg naturally kicks out, and then my stomach, my chest, all points at my target. I kick my leg out, my arm comes up, I follow through near knee. You see Eli Manning doing this. You can see his eyes, the target's on the inside. Joe Montana kicks his left leg out, target's on the inside. Dak Prescott, they're just naturally doing this, right? Same thing when we go the other way. Very difficult to find pictures of it this way. But the classic, right, the catch, guess what? Joe Montana was running to his right. His target was Dwight Clark was on the inside. So he pointed, he stepped with his right foot. The right foot was at the target. And naturally, your left leg wants to go across your body. That lines up your stomach and your chest towards the target. Your arm comes up, near knee release. There you go. Same thing with Rodgers and here. So let's look at the drill for this. So here's how we teach it. Right leg hits, and it'll start over again, so I'll get to show you. This is, I can tell you as a quarterback, nothing was better than learning how to throw on the move, because when you get a defense, when they flush a quarterback out of the pocket and you complete a pass to the check down or the guy in a flat, man, it just takes the winds out of the sails. So here it is, full speed, game tempo. Here's on the move direct. Here's on the move inside right. See how he's in a dead sprint. Nothing is getting in. He's not cocking his shoulders or at all. We'll go back and watch this again. There's a couple of videos. So here it is. So the right foot hits, it's down the target, arms coming up. The left leg's going to naturally kick up, and we're going to near knee release. So this is on the move direct. And we follow through by running at our target for on the move direct. So when we're coming on the move inside right, all that means is we're running to our right. So the right foot, this is the initiation of motion. It should hit the target. He's going a little bit early. It should be pointed at the target, and that's naturally going to bring his left leg across his body, which turns and gets his stomach and chest pointed at his target, and then he near knee releases it. And we just have them backpedal so that they don't land on their shoulder and mess up their shoulder, and so they kind of roll over their back. That's why they backpedal out of this thing. And then if we go the other way, if I can click it. So his right foot hit, it's at the target, the left foot kicks out, and here we are, coming through, we backpedal. So here's another picture. Here's one of my guys. He was a little guy, great little quarterback for us. He's a receiver, played quarterback, but he was so great on the move. And I just wanted to check his mechanics one day, so I just had him do it a little bit, right? Just nice and easy. We're going inside right, inside left, kick the leg out, near knee release, back pedal. And we call this the T drill. And it's really effective. And that near knee release makes you deadly accurate. So what are some of the So here's the drill. We just set up cones. We have guys run through each side. Jager, I want to open up for questions from that because that's the T drill is usually a little different. Anything questions on that?
One question I have here is just if you're willing to share some of these passing drills.
Yeah. No, the whole point of this is to give you guys the actual knowledge. Let me pull up. Let me see here if I can pull up another video. No, it's not showing the other video. I'm hoping to get this one video. Now it's not allowing me to bring it up. But yeah, no, I'm happy to share whatever you guys need. So just a few quick things, and I'll wrap this up. Remember that, so if you guys, we wanted something that was a system that was repeatable. So these drills are repeatable. The earlier, I've used them with 10-year-olds, high school kids, college kids, a couple pros. And once they get it, then it's just a tune up here and there. And the key is get as many reps as possible. Whenever I'd work a kid out, whether they were on my team or I'm doing individually, the first thing I would ever do is get a phone and put them in the middle field. And without telling them anything, I'll just say, hey, I want you to make a few passes, just step and throw. And I'm just going to film you because I want a baseline to see what they look like before any instruction. And then after a couple of days or after a couple of weeks of instruction, we're going to do the same exact throws again. And so let me show you how we would set that up because it is important to know how to do that. So all I do is I put the QB here, and I put a cone here, cone here, cone, cone. Let's say I'm filming from here. I would just say make 2 passes thrown here, just step and throw. 2 passes here, 2 passes here, 2 passes here. I'm not moving. I'm just staying there. And that way I can see him from all different angles and it doesn't take more than a few minutes. Same thing if I had I would do a T drill, I would just set up 2 cones and I'd say QB, I want you to jog, and once you hit these 2 cones, throw it. Now come over here. Once you get inside these 2 cones, throw it. Now come over here, throw it. And I'm not teaching them anything. I want the true baseline. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my presentation of teaching on the move mechanics, teaching stance and follow through. And that'll take about an hour. And then I'll pull up his film and I'll say, okay, Justin, now tell me what you're doing wrong. And they start coaching themselves up. And then we go outside and start doing the drills. And by doing it in that order, the educational rate, the improvement rate increases 100-fold because they see themselves, right? Seeing themselves is huge. And now that they've been taught everything from good film and a good presentation, they start self-correcting. Then when we get on the field, I tape their feet up, draw the arrow. We start doing liners. We start doing lead step, and we start doing T drill. They can't wait to be filmed again to watch the better version. And I won't do it for a couple sessions until they really groove it and get really good. So yeah, man, guys, I'm happy to send whatever you guys want. Jager, do you want me to put up my contact info, or do you just want to send that out? Whatever you want.
Yeah, you can put it up, and I can send out. And there's a question here. Coaching points for staying tall. Coach said he's having trouble transitioning one of our starting varsity pitchers back to football throwing stance.
So, great question. Baseball players. I'm just going to go to my screen because I'll just show you. How do I do that? I don't want to share a screen anymore, Jagran.
We can see you.
You see me now?
Mm-hmm.
So in football, if this is our torso, in football, the ball travels parallel to our torso. right? So if we're throwing a deep ball, all I want to do is go back, just lean back. Everything else stays the same, and the trajectory of the ball changes. What happens in baseball? Torsos go down. So if you're throwing a football and your torso goes down, where's the ball going? Into the ground. So you have to just coach them to keep their torso up. So if you're doing stance and follow through, just, hold the follow through. And if they're like this, just correct them, say, hey, bring the torso up, and just rep that. If you're throwing in a rhythm tempo 10 yards apart, you can get 100 reps in 20 minutes without them breaking a sweat, and that grooves them a lot. But they have to keep this torso up. So they can bend in the lower body and feel good down there, but torso has to be up, elbows relaxed, balls right in front. We just lift our elbow up. We're right here, somewhere in between the jaw and the nipple, and then we draw it back, and we have to keep it up. That's how I would handle that. But that's a common problem with baseball players. They want to bring torso down.
If anybody else has any questions while he pulls up his contact information, please
I'll just throw my email up there. Shoot me an email. I can send you guys any documents I have, or if you want to talk about how we implement other things in terms of drops, reads, and keys, just how we go about, or even just teaching more of the different movements, how we use them, I'm happy to do so. It was fun getting out of retirement and talking some football, and hopefully the whole goal was to get you guys some information that maybe you haven't heard before, maybe, keep an open mind to looking at things a little bit differently. But I guarantee you some of these drills, if you buy into it, you're going to see a lot of improvements in the way you guys are throwing.
Absolutely. Yeah, guys, make sure, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to him via email, man. And just, once again, stay connected, continue to learn and grow. That's what we're about. That's what we're doing. So, I was, I've been teaching this stuff with quarterbacks around here just because, I learned it from Dap a while ago, and it's awesome. So, take this information with you and implement it where you see fit, for sure. But appreciate you coming out of retirement, man.
Yeah, man, it was a pleasure. It really was a lot of fun. Thanks for last night I was prepping. I was like, oh man, it's getting good.
Yeah, I hope you
It's like a
enjoyed
drug,
it.
football's a drug.
Yeah, no doubt. I hope you enjoyed it.